Greetings, fellow humans. You know me as Iceman Caesar, and this is what's up in the world today. Now, we're only a few days away from another anniversary of the 9/11 tragedy, so I want to dedicate today's video to talk about the truth of 9/11. Now, when I started these What's Up in the World Today videos, one of the topics I was for sure I was going to talk about was 9/11 truth. I just wanted to wait till around to the right time to talk about it, and I think, very close to the anniversary is the right time. So just want to get right into it. Now, I'm not going to, 9/11 truth is, to me, it's the thing that makes all of this real. Everything I've been talking about, Satan and his Illuminati, all of that kind of stuff. The thing that makes it real is 9/11, because 9/11 actually happened, and when you break it down, it did not happen the way that they said it did. It happened in for a much different reason by different people, and it just went down. Went down a lot different than obviously the story that we were told. So I'm just gonna break it down, but I'm not gonna get into the hundreds of pieces of evidence that are out there about 9/11, because there are so many things that show that 9/11 is not what they said it was, and that the story does not add up the way they said. But I'm not gonna get into every single piece of evidence. All I'm gonna do is focus on two specific things. Now, these two specific things are enough to me. I believe they're enough to prove that this did not happen the way they say it did, and that it happened because it was a plot by Satan and his Illuminati. But we're gonna get into that, so just stick with me and I've thrown this out there many times. Like, if you can prove either of these points wrong, go ahead. Like, I welcome it. I'm ready for an intelligent debate. But I mean, you can't. There's no taking down these points. Once you research them, you realize that they are true. It is fact, and there's nothing no conclusion you could jump to other than the fact that what I'm saying is true. But I'm gonna break that down. So the first piece of evidence that I'm gonna focus on is the collapse of the 3 World Trade Center buildings. Now, I said 3. That's not a mistake. There were 3 World Trade Center buildings that collapsed on 9/11, and that is a very, very important piece of information. Now, so let's just pretend that the official story that they were trying to sell us is true, which the official story, which is goes against science and goes against the laws of physics and things like that, and is just complete and utter bullshit. But whatever. Let's just pretend for a second, for debate's sake. Let's just pretend that what they tried to sell us and what they were saying is true. So the official story is, these planes were carrying so much jet fuel that when they crashed into the towers, all of this jet fuel leaked out. It leaked out onto all the steel beams, and which then caused these steel beams to simultaneously set on fire. And all of these steel beams burned at a temperature hot enough to melt steel in an open environment and with an open flame. And that is what caused the building to collapse, all in its own footprint, boom, just neatly into its own footprint, in about 10 seconds. So that is the official story. I mean, it goes against physics, it goes against science, it's complete, but whatever. Let's just pretend, let's just say, okay, fine. That's true, that could happen, that did happen, whatever, fine. So that's the main, we're going to pretend that's true. The fact is, there were 3 buildings that collapsed on 9/11, and all 3 collapsed in the exact same fashion. All 3 bang, 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 all very fast in about 10 seconds, all neatly into their own footprint. Looked like a controlled demolition, but they, obviously it couldn't be. They said it was a terrorist attack. So okay, fine. But here's the thing. 3 buildings collapsed in the exact same way, so obviously there has to be one thing, the same thing that caused all 3 to collapse. However, that is where the mainstream story starts to lose its footing, because only 2 of these buildings were hit by an airplane. Only the Trade Center, World Trade Center 1 and 2 were hit by an airplane and had jet fuel leaked onto their beams. World Trade Center 7 which was not hit by an airplane. It did not have any jet fuel leaked onto its steel beams. So, but yet it collapsed in the exact same fashion as World Trade Center 1 and 2. So something that the mainstream story does not add up, because there's nothing you can say to that. 3 buildings all collapsed in the exact same fashion. So all 3 have to have the same reason for the collapse. Yet only 2 of those buildings got hit by an airplane. So only, so if we're pretending the mainstream story is true, then you can't believe it, because 3 buildings collapsed in the same fashion, but only 2 buildings got hit by an airplane. Now, World Trade Center 7 is not just some rinky-dinky building. World Trade Center 7 is a 47-story office building covering 1.68 million square feet. And it was not hit by an airplane. It did not have any jet fuel on its whatever. It was only hit by falling debris from the other World Trade Center buildings. Was there damage to it? Yes. Was there a fire in it? Yes. But was the entire building on fire? No. Was there enough? Did it get hit by anything to cause the entire building to collapse in the fashion it did? Nope. Yet in the evening of September 11th, when everybody was all shell-shocked and stunned and crying and completely turned off and looking away, they collapsed World Trade Center 7. Collapsed right into its own footprint. People barely even knew about it. It was a footprint. It was just a little blurb. Oh, another World Trade Center building collapsed at night. Oh my God, I can't believe. Nobody asked why. Nobody cared how. Nobody was like, oh, well, how did it collapse if it didn't get hit by an airplane? Everyone just assumed and took it for face value and took it at its word. But obviously, we were lied and deceived. But it goes back to what I said. If all 3 collapse in the exact same fashion, then all 3 need to have the same catalyst for that collapse. And planes flying into it and leaking jet fuel couldn't be it. Only 2 got hit. So that leaves us to only That leaves us only one possible explanation. You can rule out the bullshit mainstream theory. The only possible explanation after you rule out the jet fuel and planes leaking jet fuel is controlled demolition. And that is, and there's lots of evidence that points to controlled demolition. I mean, you can see it with your own eyes and watch them collapse. Go watch some controlled other examples of buildings being controlled. You being demolished using controlled demolition, then watch the World Trade Center buildings collapse. Looks exactly the same, happens exactly the same way. But but I'm sure some people will be like, oh, okay, it's controlled demolition, whatever. Like, you can't. Controlled demolition means that for weeks beforehand, people rigged this building up to collapse. And there were reports of floors of offices that were working, reporting activities of noise and construction on unoccupied floors that weren't. And what happens in a controlled demolition? You blow out every single other floor. So it just bang bang. So it's a pancake effect, and that's what. And so all these unoccupied floors. That's exactly what they could have been doing, rigging it up for collapse. There's other examples. Even there's a video from a French documentary team that I watched I used to believe the original 9/11 story, trust me. I used to be completely blind, hook, line, and sinker, but I mean, eventually I woke up because I was presented with the truth and facts, and you just can't, there's nothing you can do. You can't deny it. But in the documentary, when the first responders first arrive at the World Trade Centers 1 and 2, both basements were blown out. Like bombs went off in them when the planes hit. The planes hit 100 stories up in the buildings. Like, why? How are the explosions going off in the basement? But in a controlled demolition, what happens? You blow out the basement. You need to, because you have to. There needs to be room for the building to pancake and to fall into its own footprint. So the basement is rigged with explosives, and then it's blown out. So it's like, and there is a perfect video. I believe it was on the TLC channel. I watched it, and it kind of gives a close up of the building collapsing, and you could see the little pshoo, 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 the puffs of smoke from the floors, every second floor being blown out. Pooh, pooh, pooh. That's how I controlled them. You could see the smoke. Pooh, 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 until finally the debris cloud overwhelms it and you can't see it anymore. But I have the video in my archives. The video is out there, like it's zoomed up close, and you can see. And that is not anything naturally happen from collapse. It doesn't work that way. That happens. That you watch a controlled demolition of another building, you see those same things. You see the smoke burning out, blow out from the explosive, blowing out the floor. That's exactly what you see as the top of the Trade Center starting to come down. You see, and then the debris cloud overwhelms it and you can't see anymore. But the video evidence is out there. So there's that evidence. I mean, the basements were blown out. And that's why, like, those first responders, I mean, my God, I feel such a... That's why I'll never stop trying to bring the truth of 9/11 to light, because those first responders, these guys knew. These guys are firefighters and policemen, and these guys know controlled demolition. They know what's going on. And when they run into the... You think these guys didn't hear the rumors? There wasn't rumors going on. Like, there wasn't crazy things. When these guys run into the World Trade Center, they see the basements blown out. They know that these buildings are coming down. And they know that something's not right, but they still ran up the stairs to try and get as many people out of there as possible. They knew that there's no way they were going to get out of there alive, but they had tried to get as many people out as possible. And that's why I just send as much love and, love and strength and prayers and everything I can out to the first responders and their families, and their friends, just everyone. Like, it's just such a brutal thing to think about. And these guys and these men and women knew that they were running into the building. They were probably most likely not running out, because you can put two and two together when you see it. So, because of that, I just will never ever stop trying to bring the truth to light. But it's not just my opinion. Like, I'm giving you facts here, like videos that you can watch. Like, it's once the truth and the facts are presented, you can't deny it as a logical, intelligent person. Obviously anybody can just stick their head up their ass and be like, I'm not going to listen, I'm not going to change my opinion or my mind. Like, well, whatever. But I'm assuming I'm dealing with, intelligent, rational people that want to have a intellectual debate, and if they're wrong, they want to be like, for me, like, please, somebody prove me wrong if you think I'm wrong, and then you can. Like, I don't want to believe anything that is not right. I don't want to be wrong. Like, I would love to be wrong about Satan and his Illuminati, and it's not real, and the world is just normal, and everything, but it's not. Like, I have looked at every single angle and I've tried to think of arguments against my own things to try and prove myself wrong, and I can't do it for the things that I'm putting out there, because it's the truth. It is real, it's reality, it's facts. And as scary as it was to me to believe some of these things, as kind of as crazy as some of it sounds, when the facts and physical reality is there, it's just like, you can't deny it, or else that makes you crazy if the facts are telling you something and you're like, no, I'm not going to believe it. So it's but like because the evidence of controlled demolition is all there. I mean, the video, like I say, you can track down that video. You can see the documentary video. The basement's blown out. You can see, and you can see that there. You obviously know that only 2 planes hit 2 of the buildings, not 3. Yet all 3 collapsed in the same fashion. So one thing has to be connecting all 3. It's not the planes crashing. It's causing the collapse. It's controlled demolition. So a little bit of information about Building 7. Building 7 was housed to countless sensitive documents, like real, just seriously important documents and records, including but not limited to financial and government records and things like that. And now here are some of the departments and agencies that had offices in World Trade Center Building 7. CIA, Department of Defense, the IRS, the SEC branch investigating the Wall Street corporate fraud cases, Secret Service. Like those are the big ones. It goes there are more, but those are the big ones. Can you imagine how many important sensitive documents were in that building for that pertain to these specific agencies? I mean, these corporate fraud things, and I mean this. Obviously, the computers were around in 2001, but I mean the internet was just coming. I mean, the Napster thing was just coming to its head. So the computers and everything were just in its infancy. So not everything was backed up, and so you can think there were a lot of important sensitive things that could maybe could have led people to criminal charges, maybe could have led to see evidence of criminal doings. All that completely gone and wiped out in 10 seconds. And it's and I mean that's the thing. And so anything that wasn't backed up on a computer that was in that building, gone and lost forever, complete. And there was nothing anybody can do about it or say. And and it's like things like the day before 9/11, September 10th. What was it? Donald Rumsfeld was like, "Oh, we don't know where $3 billion or $3 trillion is, or something." It's like, oh, and then the next day, one of the biggest terrorist attack in the history of the world, basically, at least in North America, like takes over the world, mainstream news and media. No one cares about anything else but that for literally years. I mean, for sure, weeks and months. So it's like all that little tidbit completely buried. No one's asking about that. No one cares anymore. And it's such a big number that most normal people aren't gonna waste time talking about it or worry about it. It's like, oh yeah, $3 trillion. I'm sure they just lost that. It's like it seems so crazy that it's just like not worth talking about, but that's a real thing that happened. And I mean that's could be tied to why they can decided to risk bringing down Building 7. But here's another thing: the collapse of Building 7 netted $1 billion, $500 million of that profit from insurance. And that's because 2 months before 9/11, the guy that owned the World Trade Center complex took out insurance specific to terrorist attacks, to make sure that he got paid out in case there was just in case there was a terrorist attack. And so he got $1 billion from World Trade Center 7. He got $7 billion from World Trade Center 1 and 2. So I mean, when you think about the records, you think about the money that was made by just literally collapsing this building. Pretty easy to see why they would choose to do and why it'd be a risk they're willing to take. Because literally, it is like you try and bring this up to people. Oh, whatever. Who cares about Building 7? It's just a building that collapsed. It's like people are unwilling to even break it down and look at the actual facts of it. But this is the biggest smoking gun to me. I mean, really, Building 7 is, because it collapsed in the exact same way as the two big towers, yet it did not get hit by an airplane. So if they collapse in the same way, the same thing caused all three. That's controlled demolition. That means this was not the terrorist attack like they say. It was an attack by Satan and his Illuminati. So it's it's obvious, and it's obviously not the mainstream story that they're selling, but that leads me into the second piece of evidence. Because now it's clear that this was not the mainstream story that they're selling us. This was clearly, I mean, even saying, one of the things people like to say, 9/11 is an inside job. Even that's not really it's not really the way you should be talking about it, because an inside job's not really making it look like the U.S. government almost did it to himself. It's like this was a hijack job by Satan and his Illuminati that taken over the government of the United States and are trying to get them to do everything they want. And 9/11 gave them so much, but we're gonna talk about that in a little bit. moving on. So first piece of evidence shows that mainstream story is bullshit. That they were brought down by controlled demolition, which means this was a plan. So now I move to kind of the second piece of evidence that shows you this. What I'm talking about is true. It was a plan by Satan and his Illuminati, and you'll see why. So, second piece of evidence is the response to the hijacking. So on October 25th, 1999, a golfer named Payne Stewart was killed in a plane crash. His plane flew too high, causing it to depressurize, and everybody on board lost consciousness until they eventually lost consciousness and died of lack of oxygen, and the plane just cruised on autopilot until it ran out of fuel and crashed. Now, how is that relevant to 9/11? Well, just keep listening. Because it is relevant to 9/11 because when the plane started to drift off course, attempts were immediately made to contact the pilot. When those attempts failed, 2 fighter jets were dispatched to make sure that the plane was not hijacked. The pilots were able to observe that the windows had frosted over, which was how they knew what had happened with the plane, that the plane had flew too high and depressurized, and that they knew that everybody on board was now dead, and that there's nothing they could do to save anybody on board. So they just tailed it to make sure that they tailed it so that if it got close to civilian land, to a city, they were going to shoot it down. But it didn't if it ran out of fuel and crashed before it got to a city or anything. But so that is the response. So that was the response to a little private plane on a relatively short flight, and yet so a private plane on a relatively short flight goes off course within 15 minutes. It has 2 fighter jets on both sides, ready to shoot it out of the air if it was hijacked or if it gets close to civilian soil, to a city or anything like that. 15 minutes. Within 15 minutes, a private plane on a relatively short flight plan. It was not a commercial plane, it was just a private plane. But when air traffic controllers, when they saw that a plane was off its flight path, they immediately figured it out. They tried to contact the pilot, couldn't do it, bang, fighter jets right there, ready to go, ready to respond in case they had to. Yet, on 9/11, 4 hijacked commercial airliners were in the air for from beginning to end, total of over 90 minutes. Not every plane was in the air for 90 minutes, but beginning to end, the hijacking was about 90 minutes. And over those 90 minutes, the biggest, most powerful military in the world could not get themselves together to get one fighter jet into the air and get on these planes to do something about it. Not one. Not one fighter jet was able. Whatever reason, they could not figure their shit out to get one fighter plane in the air to defend American soil. Okay. Now, they knew that one of these planes was on its way to the fucking Pentagon. Okay. Like, they knew that a plane was on its way to the Pentagon for over an hour, and yet they didn't get a jet on it. A hijacked commercial airliner with people on board headed to Washington, D.C. with numerous physical targets and the fucking President of the United States. Washington, D.C., a hijacked airliner on its way to Washington, D.C. And they didn't get a jet on it. When you break it down, the shit that they tried to get us to believe, it's like, how? How could we ever believe this garbage story? But a plane was in the air for over an hour. For an hour, and they could not get a jet on it. Hijacked plane going to Washington, D.C., where the president is, could not get a plane on it. That's impossible, okay? That is impossible. And now you know why the Payne Stewart story was relevant. The Payne Stewart story shows you what the real response is to a plane going off course and possibly being hijacked. The real response is they figure it out within minutes. And the real response to that, to figuring out that it is a possible hijacking, is they have 2 fighter jets, bang, right there, ready to blow it out of the sky. And if those fighter jets get confirmation this plane is hijacked, it's not coming down anywhere but a target, that plane will never make it to a city. They will never make it to its destination. I mean, as brutal as it is for those people on board and families there, that they will not let that plane be used as a weapon and get there. They would shoot it down. They would, obviously try and shoot it so it could, crash and maybe some people survive, but that plane would never make it. Payne Stewart story, it shows you what a real response is to a hijacking situation. And so that's if 9/11 was real, and if it happened the way they said, that terrorists with box cutters took over the planes and hijacked them, the first plane never got close to New York City, not even close. But if somehow it did, no way in hell would the second plane have got there. No way in hell would the Pentagon plane have got there. And no way in hell would that 4th plane been taken down in Pittsburgh, okay? There's no way in hell that any of that would have happened if it was real. Because, and you know what? And people can say, see, as tragic as it is that Payne Stewart died in that fashion, it's like that happening is, who would have ever thought that event would be connected to 9/11? But it is, because it shows you what a real response is. So you can say, well, 9/11 was commercial airliners with hundreds of innocent people aboard going to targets. One target was hit. They never got one fighter jet in the air on them. It's just when you start breaking this down, you realize that's just how could we ever believe this? How could we ever have? It's complete garbage. But it's so obviously it's not. I don't think anybody wouldn't be willing to debate that they didn't get planes in the air. They didn't get any planes in the air. That's the story we were told, so whatever. They did not get one in the air. Now, the obvious question after that would be, why didn't they get any planes in the air? Now, obviously the fighter pilots want to get in the air and defend the country and make sure that more innocent lives aren't lost. Obviously the military is training. They literally were doing war games exercises, I believe, on September 11th, or I believe it was on 9/11 to kind of throw confusion in the air. Because I think somebody said I think there was some reports of the training exercise, and they said a plane is crashing at the World Trade Center, and someone was for real, so it's things like that were going on that day, and it just makes no sense. But why didn't they get a fighter jet in the air? But you know what? Lots of time you don't have answer to the question why, but thank God we have an answer to the question why they didn't get planes in the air on 9/11. We do, thanks to the testimony of Secretary of Transportation Norman Mineta. Hopefully I said his last name right. But thanks to him, we have an answer to the why. See, Vice President Dick Cheney was in the Presidential Emergency Operations Center on 9/11, and he had authority to lift the stand-down order, keeping the planes on the ground. For whatever reason, there was a stand-down order keeping the planes on the ground. Excuse me. America is being attacked, and there's a stand-down order for their military. Okay, that makes obviously no sense, but we're just going to keep rolling. So Dick Cheney is in the Presidential Emergency Operations Center on 9/11. He has the authority to lift this stand down, and so now let's I'm going to read Norman Mineta's exact testimony so we can all see exactly what transpired in this operations center on 9/11. During the time the plane was coming to the Pentagon, there was a young man who would come in and say to the vice president, the plane is 50 miles out. The plane is 30 miles out. And when it got down to the plane is 10 miles out, the young man also said, do the orders still stand? And the vice president whipped his neck around and said, of course the orders still stand. Have you heard anything to the contrary? And that's the end of the testimony. Like, this is unbelievable. That's out of a movie, man. Like, but that's real testimony. That's sworn under oath testimony. And I believe it was Supreme. I forget which hearing it was from. But that's real. That's real life. That happened in real life. Like, so I mean, this is not just somebody making something up. This is sworn under oath testimony. And when you hear that, I think things start to become very, very clear. Like this kid comes, I mean, he had to ask. The American military is practically begging, like, let us in here. Let us defend our country and our people. Like, let us go here. Let us do something. And Dick, Vice President, one of the people that is in charge with leading and defending the country, telling the military to stand down as they're waiting for their country to be attacked. Like, this is disgusting. It is absolutely disgusting, and Dick Cheney should be in jail right now. The fact that people are making funny little videos with him, and just makes me sick. Like, Dick Cheney is one of the biggest pieces of shit in the world. He knows exactly about Satan and his Illuminati and everything like that. He is willing to be a scumbag. He is a piece of shit. He should be in jail right now, and stuff like this is why, because it showed proof right there. He told the American military to stand down as the plane is coming in, and they're telling him, plane's getting closer, the plane's getting closer, can we do something? No, you can't. Did I say you can do something? No. So right there, I mean, this is not me, my opinion, it's not me making something up, sworn under oath testimony. So it's right there. It's a stone cold fact. You can't deny it. You can, like I said before, you can stick your head up your ass and you can refuse to believe facts and truth, but whatever. I mean, then I'm just not gonna deal with people like that, because it's when rational, intelligent people look at this, there's only one conclusion you could jump to. And that's that the mainstream story we were sold is bullshit, and that people, scumbags that control the world planet, it's Satan and his Illuminati, and it's and I just don't know what more you need, really. Like, it's everything. Like the first piece of evidence that I gave destroys the mainstream bullshit story about what happened with the towers collapsing, how they collapsed and everything. And the second piece of evidence that I just talked about shows that this was a plan by scumbags controlling the world. And it's like they had a chance to stop it, to get planes in the air. And Vice President Dick Cheney said, no, nobody's getting in the air. There's a stand down order. And the Payne Stewart story shows what a real response is to a hijacking. But on 9/11, when commercial airliners are hijacked, being slammed, crashed into buildings with thousands of people in them, and on their way to Washington, D.C., no planes. It's like, I just can't believe that we ever believed that's the main bullshit story, But thanks to that testimony, there's a place to start investigating 9/11 and Satan and his Illuminati. It's like Vice President Dick Cheney. He's the one that had the chance to allow America to defend itself, and he made sure that did not happen. Why would he do that? Well, there's a reason. They were really ready to defend America when they started these disgusting wars. And through sending thousands of young people and millions of Americans and Iraqis and Afghanis and just like countless numbers of people to their deaths and to just chaos and hell. And they're really ready to defend America then, but not when it was really happening. So it just shows you that these guys are not on the level. That there's people that are not on the level, and we want to start investigating. Dick Cheney's a great start. And he prevented the military from defending America. Like, that is he should be in jail. Like, he should be in jail for, at the very least, for every single person that died in the Pentagon attack and on the plane that hit the Pentagon. He should be in jail. He should serve a life sentence for every single one of those people, as far as I'm concerned. But the only logical explanation for why he would not allow those planes to is because he was involved in planning it and making it happen. Like, that is the only logical explanation. And this is not my opinion. I'm not just pulling this stuff out of thin air. Stone cold facts. That's a sworn piece of testimony that I'm referencing here. So this is not my opinion. I'm basing it off of facts and what actually happened in real life. And you know, I mean, like, and that's now we have somebody that's connected to perpetrating 9/11, and you know that 9/11 was the scumbags that control the world are Satan and his Illuminati. So if they're the ones that pulled off 9/11, so if Dick Cheney's connected to one, you just follow the connections and you get to the head of the snake. You know, but rip Dick Cheney's life open, his businesses, his friends, his contacts, his school, everything he's done. Just rip open his life and start investigating everything and all these, and you'll find shady stuff. You'll find all of a sudden these scummy little connections that they start going, and he gave this is his buddy and he works for this company, and then this and this. If you rip it open and break it down, it's all there to see. It's all there to be exposed. And if you just follow the connections, you will find the head of the snake. But normally it's normally it's tough. You don't have access to people. Like, you don't really know. I mean, people. It's it's a joke, but people talk about the Illuminati. And it's this like mystery villain in the world or whatever that's just fake or whatever. Like, there's no face or a name. It's rare that you're able to put it, but the facts are there to be able to link this kind of thing to Dick Cheney. So it's sworn under oath testimony. Now I know what I'm talking about. Like, I mean, it's scary stuff. Like, it was very intense, and it was very. I don't mean scary and as I'm scared. Like, don't hurt me. As scary as in a. Man, the world is not what we were presented. Like, the world is not what you think it is. Like, there's actually, there's actually a Satan, and he's trying to do bad things, and he's got influencing human beings to do bad things for him, and so it's like, it's scary in the way to realize that, that stuff is all actually true and everything, but it's tough to handle, and that's why I don't just push it on everybody. It's hard enough to deal with everything we have to deal with in our normal lives. Never mind, being shown that everything that you presented is not. A lot of things you presented are not the truth, or there's actually people working in the shadows against good people to try and make bad things happen. So I get it. Well, that's why I don't push it on everybody. I wait for people to come to me to ask about it, or if if people are already into it, I'll try and help them, educate them, and give them the truth. But it's like the way we're working, most people are not going to have to know the ins and outs of every single piece. Like, just like the main influential, important people that can get into power positions and change the world for the better and do good things for good people. Like, they'll be able to change, bring justice to the people that deserve to have justice brought to them, and they'll be able to change, change the world. And a lot of people won't even realize that, the world wasn't what it was presented. It'll just change for the better. It'll change for the good, and they'll know, but they won't know. And kind of like I was talking about in the Better Call Saul video, and Chuck, like, if you hit people all at once with the fact that they've been living in a false reality, sometimes it's not gonna. People don't react and handle it well. So, and really life, the way Satan and his Illuminati have tried to present it to us is a false reality. So it's like, hammering everyone all at once with that is not a good thing. So, that's why I just put these videos out there, just try and put things out there to, the people that want to invest their time will, and that's the people you'll reach, and hopefully those are the people that'll be able to, actually do something with the information and actually make a positive, good change for the world. But but I mean, I understand why people want to ignore it, and why they just play along with the with the Illuminati control world, and just even though they know that it's things that people like me are talking about are probably right. It's just easier to play along. But man, enough is enough, and I mean, it's time for a change. Love you, Owen. But really, it's like it really is. They need to be brought to justice, and we need to start moving towards the best version of this world. Excuse me. And the only way we're going to do it is to bring down Satan and his Illuminati, and there's not many ways to do it. They don't want to be brought down. They're doing everything they can to, but things like 9/11, well, thank God they don't happen every day. But I mean, things like 9/11, it brought them so much. That's why they risked it. But it also exposes them. And but they know that they've covered their tracks well, and they know that they're the smoke and mirrors means that not many people are going to believe it, and it's going to be tough to get people to believe it. But the facts and the truth is out there. If we just present it in the right way to the right people, it can get out there, and we can bring them down. But we need more people to wake up to it, and we need more people to realize that 9/11 truth is the actual truth. It didn't happen the way that they were trying to sell it to us. There is people trying to control the world. That's Satan and his Illuminati. But once people realize that, we can bring them down, man. We can change, we can turn the tables, and once we create the best version of this world, it's just like we're going to realize that we were living in hell, man. We were living in hell, and when the best version of this world is just going to be, it's just, I can't wait till we get there. And I know we will get there with enough time for everybody to really, really enjoy it. But it's just, we got to wake more people up, and it's just, if you're exposed to this information, don't ignore it, don't run away from it. Just figure it out and become as intelligent as you can in it, and just stand as strong as you can, because you're not going to be alone. As long as I can stand, as long as I have breath in my lungs, as long as I have blood flowing in me, I will be fighting for this truth and to bring the Satan and his Illuminati down. So it's but as you can see, these are not larger than life movie villains. Like, these aren't like these aren't like shift-shaped and a reptilian. These are like, that's all disinformation bullshit to get that they spread, like that they throw on people, so when people start getting into this stuff, boom, they get off track, and they get completely just off on a crazy place. They are normal. They're human beings. They are just like you and me. The only difference is they think that they're part of this one. The 1%, 99% is true. They think they're the 1%. They think they're part. They're part of these 13, 16 families or whatever. So they think they're superior to us that aren't in these families, and we're just the peasants. We're the worker bees. And they worship Satan. Like, other than that, but I mean, like, they're human beings like us. They can't just they can't just like do whatever they want. They have to. And I mean, even though they control the world, they have to abide by certain rules. Like, they have to do their like evil plans within like the within this actual society. They have to play along with society, like in certain aspects of society, even though they control it. That's why we still have a chance to bring them down, and to take control, and to make the society work for good things for good people, because like they love people to think that they control everything. There's nothing they can do, nothing anyone can do, and that they are calling every shot, and they're at the mercy of no one. Wrong. They have to live in this world just like we do. It's just that they do what they have to do to put themselves in the position to control it. But that's why they would be killing people and murdering people if they already controlled everything and they could just do it. No, but they have to do things like that to stay in power and to stay in control, because every single day people are waking up to try and start and not wanting to be a servant to Satan anymore, not wanting to be part of the evil side. They want to be good. They want to be the best versions of themselves. And so these people that were once loyal and working for them are now flipping. So it's like, that's why they got to kill them and keep, just try to, because their power is fragile. They want us to think it's solid, but it's fragile. We just got to wake up, expose as many people as possible to the truth. And once the truth is out there, there's nothing they can do. And we'll take control of the society, the good people, and it will work for good things for good people. And like the evil and the bad and the negativity will be it'll just be things to be talked about and be prepared for. But they need the shadow. That's why they're in the shadows. That's why they do everything in smoke and mirrors. That's why they skulk around, because they have no strength. They have no true power. They have no true courage, or they have no fortitude. They have nothing like that. Like, that's why they know in a one-on-one straight up battle, they'd be done, knocked straight down. Like, it would just be a steamroll. So that's why they skulk around in the shadows, and that's why if they came right out and said, yeah, we're the bad guys and we're going to do this, they would be crushed and the world would be changed to the good immediately. So it's all we have to do is expose them, and just they're not like they're not these, larger than life movie villains. They're just regular people. They're just like, there's human beings that are willing to be the worst versions of themselves, even though they know the consequences and they know everything like about Satan and his Illuminati and God and Jesus and everything. They're still willing to follow Satan. So I mean, those are the people I pray for the most, but are just the most disgusting versions of themselves, because to willingly do that is just, man. But, and we cannot lose this opportunity, because most of the time these scumbags are nameless and faceless, because they are very, very smart and careful, and they make sure to cover their tracks very well. But things like 9/11 are so risky for them, because obviously they leave themselves out there to be exposed and to be potentially brought down. But at the same time, it gave them so much, and it gave them so much power and control, that it was absolutely worth it. I mean, they got them 2 wars that gave them complete power and control of the weapons and oil industries. Like, those 2 industries were just given rocket fuel. I mean, think about the weapons and oil industries, and those 2, a big reason why those industries are in the high positions they are right now is because of 9/11 and the reliance on weapons and oil. Gave them the Patriot Act, so they basically can destroy people's privacy, and they can basically have surveillance over every aspect of society and every person. TSA, so they can keep people afraid and keep people stressed and angry, and basically sexually assault people. Like, you hear about wrestlers going through, like, I just heard a story about Jim Ross going through with Tori Wilson, and some scumbag TSA person just feels her up. It's just like, you should be in jail. You should be knocked out. Like, it just disgusts me to the degree, man. John Cena talks about always getting his crotch fondled. It's like, that's why they do it, to try and, there is something to having something done to you you don't want to do. You obviously don't want to have people touching your most intimate areas. Boo. But now with TSA, they force their way in there and do it. So it's like, and it does say, that's just not something you just walk away from. Okay, I'm fine. It's like, man, it's like, takes that's why they do it. They want to take little pieces away from people, little chunks. They want to keep all these negative emotions going. It's like, it's just, but it gave them so much. It was worth the risk. But the main thing that it did, and it gave them, coming off of 9/11, was it injected a huge dose of fear and hatred into our world that we're still dealing with today. It's getting worse and worse. And but everything was different after 9/11. Now, I'm not saying everything was sunshine and rainbows before 9/11, but I specifically remember the difference between how things were before and after, because it is palpable. And I thought about that immediately after and for a long time, because before, I don't know, there was just an innocence to the world. People were still fighting, there were still murders and wars and things like that, but it was different. It wasn't that fear and hatred. I mean, there was still racism and prejudice, and, I'm not saying that stuff wasn't there, but it just wasn't dominant. It wasn't completely out there in our society. It wasn't on everybody, and the fear wasn't, I guess fear wasn't there, which fear fuels so many negative, bad emotions, but everything was different after 9/11, and it was the hate for people that are different from you. Now it's like, oh, anybody that isn't white is a terrorist. And, it's like the fear in public transportation. Anytime, oh, somebody gets on and is, maybe, shifts a little bit, oh, they're a terrorist. Or if someone's a different race, they're a terrorist. It's like it's just fear and hatred and anger and judgment and judge. It's just, it just brought all those negative emotions. And we haven't got rid of it. It's just worse. It is, I mean, look at all the stuff we're dealing with. Stuff with immigration and stuff with with Trump. I mean, you got people literally that are proud to say, "Oh, I only support white people. I only want to be around white people. I only want to deal with white people." It's like it's crazy to me, like how people could think like that. And it's like, oh, like go back to your own country. Why are you running to a good country? Like, I mean, it's like it's insane, but it's not. It's just getting worse, and it's just and that's what they wanted. It's like divide and conquer. Like we are completely divided, and we are definitely being conquered right now. But that injection of fear and hatred is part of the reason why we have Trump as a president, because those people had those emotions and they just, like I said, it just gave everybody that had those fear and hatred in them, given rocket fuel. To grow into a raging inferno. And it just kept building and building and building until they finally got somebody like Donald Trump in there who's going to say it in his Illuminati, throw out there a guy like Trump that's going to say and do everything, all the worst kind of things that bring out the worst versions of people. So now they have an outlet for it, and bam, here we are. And so now you have, like children being sexually assaulted when they're just when they're put in the American custody, families separated, and these kids, these people that they hire are such predators that immediately these kids are being sexually assaulted after being separated. That place should be just descended upon with every law enforcement officer in the world to lay down justice, to make sure that these children aren't being preyed upon and these families aren't being separated. It's just like. But that's part of the reason why we have that. It's part of the reason why we have the protests during the anthem controversy with the NFL and stuff like that. It's that injection of hatred and fear. Bam! Like a lot of these people are able to become police officers, and they don't ever become a police officer because you have to act a certain way to be a police officer. But these people with these negative feelings and emotions, they get in there, and all of a sudden they have an outlet to be able to do. Now they have power. Now they can do whatever they want. So now they're executing and basically slaughtering these black people in the streets. Like, it is absolutely just. There's no word for it. Disgusting doesn't cover it. Like. It's just it is abhorrent is maybe a word that's scratches the surface, but it's just that's the cult. And I mean, people getting mad at these athletes trying to protest this and bring awareness to it so it stops happening. Like the hatred and towards the athletes, that's all coming from 9/11. From everything happened and that injecting that fear and hatred into our lives and into people's character, and it's just, and that's why that's happening. Just talking a little bit about the protest right now. They the latest story with that is Nike just signed Colin Kaepernick to do some campaign for them about this. Like, I think this is the most pathetic thing in the world, man. Like, to watch everybody around here just kissing Nike's ass, like Nike is this great company. Like, are you kidding me? The things that the worker exploitations that they've done with their employees to make their shoes, the disgusting culture they've created to where these struggling poor families have to buy these kids Nikes because they just have to have it, and these this is just absolutely disgusting to me that everyone's just turning a blind eye. And like, I've seen people like, oh, I'm gonna go buy some Nike stuff. I'm gonna go, oh yeah, like Nike, like this is just absolutely disgusting. Like, I mean, like I'm glad. And I mean, Colin Kaepernick, it's like, I'm glad that he started kneeling to bring awareness to police brutality and these killings and everything, but Colin Kaepernick is no like person to be. He's not even close to the best version of himself, and he's no role model or leader for this movement. The guy, a few weeks after started kneeling, wore socks with pigs dressed up as police on them. Like, I mean, some of the stuff that he said, and after some of the rhetoric he's put out there, like during his time off and things like that, it's like, I'm glad he started kneeling to do this, but there's like he just because he does that doesn't mean he just gets to excuse other parts of his character, and he was clearly maybe not doing it for the exact right reason. Like I'm glad I want these police killings to stop. The killing these black people being murdered and executed by police. I want this like that. One is way too many, but one more. Like, I want that to stop, and I'm glad that all these athletes are kneeling during the anthem to try and bring awareness to it, so that more people realize what the hell is going on, and so that it stops. But I am certainly like not painting Colin Kaepernick as any kind of, and the reason why he doesn't have a job in the NFL is he refuses to take a pay cut from the $12 million that he was making. He refuses to take a pay cut to a backup salary like he should, because he's playing. He's not it's not like he was lighting the league up when he was playing. The guy was barely a backup quarterback. Yeah, he should be in the league. He should be able to. He could play in Cleveland, or he could play in some of these other places with some of their struggling QBs. But let's not act like this guy should be a starting quarterback everywhere, or that he was willing to pay for the veterans minimum and that nobody would hire him. Like, literally, John Elway said, we tried to bring him in, and we tried to bring him in as a quarterback, but he refused to take a pay cut from his $12 million or whatever he was making. So it's like, what is their campaign? Just do it, so even if you have to sacrifice everything. You weren't willing to sacrifice a penny. Like, oh man, it is just making me so mad to see everybody just like, this is such an important issue, and Nike is like give me a break. Like, Nike, like everything that all the negativity they brought to society, but Nike is now this saintly company that everyone's like raising up and kissing their ass. Like, it is just an absolute joke, man. Like, I just had to rant about that, because like it was just driving me insane watching all this stuff go down on over social media and everything, and just like it just drives me out of my mind. But it's so like just going back, like, so that's part of the 9/11 is why we have Trump, why these protests during the anthems controversy, why all that stuff is having to happen. All these problems in the world are purposely created by Satan and his Illuminati. They knew that fear and hatred was going to be injected into our world. They knew where that would spread, and all the different aspects of society that would spread to, and eventually that they knew they'd be able to get a guy like Trump into the presidency because of that injection of hatred and fear, and the fact they just kept stoking the fires with all these terrorist attacks and all these attacks, and just everything, just stoking the fires constantly, just keeping that fear and hatred fire burning. And but then that's why, and you see. And that's why you see they've created a system to attack good people in every aspect of it, to attack the family, to keep families together, to attack the father when families are split up. The father sometimes has to really fight for visitation and for rights and for things like that. That's why there's attacks on females and their rights to abortion. I mean, that's why females have to pay for tampons and things. That should just be free. Like, I mean, they don't choose. Like, this is not something they choose to have happen to them. Yet they have to pay to protect themselves. Like, that is absolutely disgusting. Like, so, but that's why they create this system, in these systems in society, to attack good people. They want people in jail. They want people stressed. They want people angry. They want people hateful, and they want people fearful. That's why they want people in debt. That's why they want people slaves to their jobs and never and slaves to debt. They're always in debt. They're working they're just working to live. It's like that they created the system for a reason, on purpose, to do these, to bring out these negative, evil emotions. And now that's why now in Canada they've actually changed the law so that police can just pull you over now without any reason. If they want to, they can just pull you over. They can give you a search. They can check you. They can just check you up and down. Like, no reason, no rhyme or reason. Just like the Gestapo were able to do to Jews in Germany, now police are able to do that in Canada. Like, how fucking disgusting is that? Like, they just sneak this stuff into our society, and it's like we fought. Like, how many of my own family fought and died in the world wars to try and prevent this stuff from happening, and yet here we are living in Canada. Now the police can just pull anyone over for any reason. Don't have to have a reason. Do whatever they want. Now, like drunk drivers. My cousin, I believe my details were always sketchy about what this piece of shit was, why he was driving as fast as he was. But I believe my cousin may have been killed by a drunk driver. But I know I still have people that and very close to that was affected by drunk drivers. So I have no problem with getting drunk drivers off the road. But drunk driver, you can tell when they are drunk, and you can tell when they're impaired and get them off the road. I do not advocate for just being able to pull anyone over for any time. If there's a reason, pull them over, figure out if they're impaired, alcohol impaired, and get them off the road. But not this pull over for any reason, for no rhyme or reason. That's what the Gestapo were able to do with Nazi Germany. So, I mean, it's just makes me sick that things like that are able to get snaked into our society. Now that's why they created new positions to terrorize cannabis users. Drug recognition experts. Like, give me a break. That is the most pathetic thing I've ever heard in my life. Like, drug recognition expert. Like, you worked your whole life and career. You're sitting there taking people's pulses and looking people's eyes. That is the most pathetic thing I've ever heard in my life. Just because you want to mess with cannabis users, like, it's just disgusting. Like, it doesn't even impair your driving. No tests have been done. No studies have been done. No, nothing like that. But, they're just lumping it in. Why? Because Satan and his Illuminati control the world. Cannabis only does good things, so they want to destroy it. They want it gone. They want it attacked. But now the good people have pushed through and are able to get it legalized. They're going to do whatever they can to terrorize people and attack it and keep people they want to put as much negativity and evil around it as possible. That's why they're doing it. But you know what? How many of these new drug recognition expert positions are they creating? 120? 120. How many new positions have they created to deal with fentanyl? How many new positions have they created to deal with cocaine, heroin, opioids? How many new positions have they created to deal with missing and murdered indigenous women? How many new positions have they created to deal with the human trafficking that's going on? Fucking zero, okay? Zero. None. They're not doing a damn thing new about any of these other things. But, cannabis becomes legal and all of a sudden we need 220 new officers. I believe that's just in Saskatchewan. Maybe that's Canada-wide. But 120 new officers so we can go drive around and pull people over no matter what. Even if they're not doing anything. Get them out. Let me look in your eyes. Let me check your pulse. Like, oh my God. This is the most pathetic thing I've ever heard in my life. Like, you're not a... how many big, cannabis does only good things. It does just only good things. Trust me, the only people that shouldn't be driving when they're smoking weed would never even fathom driving when they're smoking weed. They curl up in a ball if you presented the idea of them driving a vehicle. Like, when I first started smoking, it took me over a year and a half before I felt like I was comfortable enough to be able to get behind the wheel. Like, before that, I refused, wouldn't do it. No. You tell that to a drunk guy. Oh yeah, man, I'll get behind the wheel. Woo! You tell somebody a new cannabis user that's really, really baked. Hey man, you want to drive? No. Trust me. I mean, it's a pathetic joke. And if you've ever, there's no, like I say, no studies have been done, no nothing. But all these problems, how, like missing and murdered indigenous women, how many new positions, how many new officers have they created to deal with that? Zero. So, and how many people are dying overdosing on fentanyl? How many fentanyl recognition officers do we have? Zero. Like, so it is just pathetic. And there's a good reason why why cops go along with it. They know. Trust me. I'm sure most of these cops have smoked weed at one point in their lives. But even if they haven't, they know that this is bullshit. That this is garbage. Like this is not real police work. They're not going after criminals here. But they're like, this is just money grabs, and this is just trying to mess with people. But the other big reason is that cannabis users are easy arrests. We aren't violent. We're not irrational. We're not uncooperative. We just want to relax, chill, smoke our weed, and that's it. Enjoy some tunes. Excuse me. Enjoy funny movies and TV. Listen to music. Eat some food, like that's it. Like that, and I mean when a cannabis user is pulled over by the cops, yes sir, officer, completely cooperative, but that's why they love it. That's why they go along with it. Because it's easy work. Other criminals that are dealing with fentanyl, cocaine, and heroin, and opioids, and the missing and murdered indigenous women, and the human traffickers. That's dangerous. That's dangerous, serious stuff. Those are the exact opposite of cannabis users. That is hard police work. That's dangerous police work, because these people are violent. They are irrational. They are uncooperative. They will do bad things. They will fight against the cops. They will cross the line. So, and so that's why these cops don't fight against these bullshit laws targeting cannabis users, because it's easy. It's easy to go after cannabis users, I don't want to come off here as if I don't like police, if I'm against police, if I am unsympathetic with police. I'm not. Trust me. I love police. We need police. I want police in our society, but I want police officers to be police officers. And real police officers need to be paid so much more than they are. It's disgusting. Like, I mean, how much does a police officer make right now? 70, 80 grand a year? Like, that is a disgusting joke. I mean, like, Ludacris doesn't even cover it. Their job is to literally deal with the worst versions of people that are willing to do the worst things possible, that have already crossed the line and have done the worst things, that are willing to do the worst things, that are willing to kill people, that are willing to lie, cheat, steal, their job is to every day to get up and to try and find the worst versions of people and to make sure they're not hurting innocent people and to bring them to justice. Like, there's no relaxing, like there would never be a lighthearted, relaxing, easy day as a cop. Like, every single day, like, you put on that uniform, you're responsible. When something goes wrong, everyone's looking to police. Well, you're the guy with the uniform now. You can't look to anybody else. The buck stops with you. So when somebody's say, hey, there's a bad guy, you're the guy that has to deal with the bad guy. And we're all human beings. Like Mike Tyson, one of the toughest, baddest fighters ever, said he was terrified walking to the ring to fight, and that's why one of the reasons why he fought so good. He was scared. He was scared to fight. I mean, so these cops are human beings. Obviously, they're going to be scared. Every single day you go to work, put on that badge, there'd be a little bit of fear. Like, is this the day I'm going to confront the worst version of someone? Is somebody going to do one of the worst things that they can do to me? Or is like, so it's, I mean, these cops should be paid like six figures should be what police officers should be making. Like, like, we're talking like, 200 grand here, like, easy. I mean, this with the stress and what they have to deal with and the what their impact is on society, they should be making so much money that when they're off duty, they can enjoy the fuck out of life, because of how much stress and how much how much is on their plate when they're on duty. They should have the money to be able to just go on vacation and relax, to buy some toys to play with if they want, to have a nice home, to have a nice yard, to enjoy it. But they should be making so much more money than they are. And I'm sure that's part of the reason why we have the problems that we do with the police officers, because they're not being paid what they're supposed to. I mean, if they were being paid properly, then more good people would stay as police officers, and it would be like the. Since they're not paying the proper wage, I'm sure they've lost a lot of good people there. Like, it's just not worth it. But these guys that have fear and hatred in their character, well, they see an outlet, they see power. So, like, they're going, that's why these guys are sticking around in the jobs. And these got the good cotton, it's rare to be, it's getting to be rare to find actual police officers. Most now are just resembling hired thugs. Like, they don't care about policing. They don't care about being nice and helping every citizen. They care about being a dick and showcasing their power. And some cops can't ask for help. Like, I don't care. Like, I've dealt with cops and I've tried to ask for help, and there's nothing that you could. If you're not committing a crime, they don't want anything to do with you. Like, they just want to arrest or issue a ticket. And it's not every cop, but it's too many of them. And it's not right that they're creating new positions to attack cannabis users when there's so many other problems and so many other things that need to be policed. So I don't want it to come off as I'm not supporting police officers. I 100% do. I think they need to be paid more, and that way we can get better people in there and keep them in there so that they're doing good things. Like, I would not be able to be a cop. There's no way, because I would hold myself to an absolute highest standard, and I would hold everyone around me to the highest standard. And if anybody around me thought that they could commit a crime and be a criminal and wear that badge and uniform, oh, fuck, I would go after them with a fiery vengeance. It would just be, there's nothing there would be no, oh, that's my buddy, I'm going to let him have, you are a police officer, you are held to a higher standard, and if you commit a crime, you want to be a criminal while you're a police officer, you will get raked over the coals. And I believe that if it's up to me, that's what you would do. That's what happens. You'd be raked over the coals. We just read a story about in Manitoba, this judge, this cop, just drunk off his ass in his car, passed out in his vehicle, emptied beer cans in his ride and everything, refuses a breathalyzer, just everything that would have had a regular person strung up. Oh, the judge says he's innocent, nothing happened, let him go, boys. Well, it's just disgusting, man. Scumbags taking care of their own scumbags. It's just people living in the worst versions of people taking care of the worst versions of people. It's like, but I would be kicked off. Nobody would. I'd be one of those guys where I'm on assignment, so I'm by myself, because I would not allow anybody to get away with breaking the law when you're a police officer. I mean, so many police officers drinking and driving and trying to get away with it. It's just like, what are you guys doing? You guys are. It's just what a police officer is supposed to be is almost got lost on some people. But I didn't want it to come off like I'm against police officers. I'm not. I'm against crooked cops. I'm against these cops that are killing people, murdering people. I'm against hired thug cops. But what I am 100% for is police officers, and I believe they need to be paid a very high wage so that they can enjoy life when they're not on duty, because that's a tough job when they're on duty. But man, if I'm able to be successful and getting some and making my mark in the world and changing the world, then police officers are going to be very highly paid for a very easy job, because I believe that we can set up the best version of this world, to bring out the best version of every single person. There doesn't have to be anybody committing crimes. We just have to be aware that crimes can be committed, that that it is a possibility in all of our characters. We all got to fight against it every day to be the best version of ourselves. We can never sit back and go, now I don't have to worry about being brought down or being influenced by Satan. Like, he'll always try. He'll never give up until all of us are back in paradise. Like, he'll never ever give up and stop trying no matter what. Even when we succeed and have the best version of this world and the best version of everybody, and there's nobody loyal to him at that point, like, he'll never stop. So but we can create that world, and it's. But we need real police officers to do it, and so that's why it's so important to wake people up to things like 9/11, so that we can and that wakes people up to Satan and his Illuminati, and lets people know that it's real, that they're trying to control things, and that they're purposely trying to get us to hate each other and to get us to fight against each other. And so when we realize that, and we're able to really connect ourselves to God and Jesus, and that will just sever the evil and negative connections to us, and it will allow us to be the best versions of ourselves. Like, oh man, it's just. But we have to just. It all goes back to 9/11. We have to wake up. Like, that was the thing that injected so much fear and hatred into our world, and that's the thing that's going to bring them down. It gave them so much, but it's going to bring them down. And it created the world that we're currently living in. It created our society that we have to deal with right now. And but it's just what I've said in this video today is fact. Like, you can please debate me if you think I'm wrong. Do the research, bring it to me. I don't want to believe in something that's not right. I want to believe in the truth. I want to believe in what's real. But I've done my research for years, like, not just hours, not just months, weeks, whatever. I have years I've researched this stuff. I've done every angle. I've tried to come up with every argument I could think of if I was trying to debate somebody that had this opinion, and I've covered every angle, and that's why I know it's the truth. I know it's fact, and that's why I put it out there like this. That's why I'm not scared to put it out there like this, no matter how it makes me come off, no matter what people think of me, because I know it's the truth, and I'm not going to stop, and it's too important, and it's just, I just won't let Satan and his Illuminati win. That's the bottom line. But like, if you don't believe me, do the research on your own and bring it to me. You can't, but I know that people cannot take down those first two arguments. That's why it's like, there's lots of other things we could talk about and the other questions that need to be answered for 9/11, but those two things that I talked about, they're the main things, and they cover pretty much everything. So that's why I only stick to those two things, and I don't really get into all the other details about 9/11. But when you do your own research, you'll see that everything what I'm talking about is the truth. I'm not making it up. It's pulled out of facts and out of reality, and and if it is real, and what I'm talking, and 9/11 didn't happen the way they said it did, if it happened how I said it did, then you know that there's only one conclusion you can jump to, and that it was a plan that perpetrated by Satan and his Illuminati. Excuse me. And as I said, 9/11 is what makes all of this real. It brings all of this around. It brings all of this together. Now, whenever I'm researching Satan and his Illuminati, I'm getting really into this stuff, I'm not going to lie and say that I don't have moments to where, I kind of take a step back and I kind of just say, is this really real moment? Like, some of the stuff is, again, it's crazy to read about. I mean, it's, you're reading about some of how they control the world, things they've done, things they do, how they're, different spirit, you get into these things like the occult and witchcraft and things like that. You read about all that stuff. I mean, is this stuff all really real, like the Illuminati? But every time I think about that, I just go back, and every time there's any doubt creeps in, I just go back to 9/11, and I remember that 9/11 was real. It was physical. It was there. I was working at the airport, doing push carts, taking care of push carts on the day that it happened, and I know why God had my day play out the way it did. I was on midnight shift at that week, and I had just gotten off my shift at about, I think it was about 7 o'clock, and as I was laying down to go to sleep, the first plane was flying into the World Trade Center. When I woke up in the afternoon, I woke up to a completely different world, and I woke up to about 50 messages on my answering machine telling me to get my ass back to the airport because I needed to get onto a security door. Because as soon as that happened, they took everybody off push carts and put every single door in the airport had a security person on it. And so, I saw all that stuff. I mean, 9/11 really happened. It was real. The towers collapsed, everything like that. Like, that was not so, but it happened the way that, like, the truth, the 9/11 truth, it did not happen the mainstream bullshit way that they try and put out there. So whenever doubt creeps in, I just go back to 9/11, because 9/11 happened. It happened the way that I said it did, and that's real. So if it happened like that, then Satan and his Illuminati is real, and I keep rocking and rolling with my research. And it's like, I mean, I wish 9/11 had never happened, but I mean, now that it did, it's one of the things that we have to use to bring down Satan and his Illuminati. We can't let it go to waste. We can't let it pass by. We can't just treat it as a whatever. It's too important. Too many people died and lost their lives. We have to take this chance and this golden opportunity to take them down. We're not going to get a better one. This is it, and we just need the right people to figure out the truth and to push it out there. And that's why I tell people, when you're out there and in the world, anybody that's pushing the mainstream bullshit 9/11 story, they're not on the level. They're either not on the level, or they're just they're just completely lost still. And especially people that know better. If you're looking at someone and they should know better and they still push the bullshit 9/11 story, that's how you know they're not on there. That's how you know that they're not on the level. And people that are rallying against Trump, but are pushing the mainstream 9/11 story, same shit, different pile. Goes back to the Pope John Paul I video I did and explained how the Illuminati works. And the different factions, they're all fighting against each other, trying to gain control. So the people that so you got, it's just different people fighting against each other to try and gain control. And it's one, that's why you got people pushing the bullshit 9/11 story but still fighting against Trump. It's all just a dog and pony bullshit show that they're trying to sell us. So the people that it's guys like Michael Moore, who's a big documentary conspiracy guy, yet he never touches the real 9/11 truth or anything like that. You see, you gotta look at people like that and just realize what they're actually doing and what their role is, and it's just like I said at the beginning. 9/11 is what makes all of this real. And whenever I'm researching and doubt creeps in, it's just 9/11 happened. It happened the way that I said it did, not the bullshit mainstream way that they've been trying to sell us. And then just remember that Satan and his Illuminati are just people. Like, they're just human beings like you and me. They have to live in this world like you and me. They have to work within the systems. That's why they have to manipulate the systems, or they would just control it. They do whatever they want. They have to live in this system, in this society. So just and people. I mean, sometimes when that's why I'm sure why people don't believe it a lot of. Excuse me. Why people don't believe it a lot of time. It's because who are these people? Who could these people, who is this Illuminati? Who are these super villains? Who could, it's just, you can't really put a picture or a face to what you're dealing with. But, now with stories like this, it's you heard sworn under oath testimony that Dick Cheney stopped the American military from defending America on 9/11 when it was being attacked. So you can start there, and that is the first thing. I mean, that's not the first link. That's not the first research point you can use to research Satan and his Illuminati and things like that. Dick Cheney's not the first, but that is a big one, and that is a one that can really help bring down Satan and his Illuminati. So we can't let it go to waste. And but you know, like these guys can be brought to justice. Like they don't control everything. They can be brought to justice if you know if good people are in control. And you know, we aren't in control right now, but we will be soon. And you know, the victims of 9/11 and their family and their friends and everybody that was affected by 9/11, they deserve justice. And they deserve to see these people, you know, pay for their crimes, to lose their freedom and to spend their time in jail so they can think about what they've done. Like the little boys that they are. They think they're men and women, but they're not. They're little boys and girls that never grew up, and you know that's why they're able to connect themselves to Satan and be his Illuminati. But but good people will be in control of this world soon. It's a fact. When they are, we are gonna bring justice to these people that murdered all these people and that did all these disgusting things. And it's, you know, it's it'll be a glorious day, and justice the right way, like justice through a criminal system, you know, through a trial with evidence brought up and saying this is here's why you're guilty, here's what you did, here's how we know you did it, and here is what your punishment is. And you know that day needs to happen, and it will happen, and it'll be a great day when it happens, because it's been a long time coming. And I know these guys thought that they were going to get away with it, but they absolutely will not. And as long as people like me are on this world, I will not stop trying to push 9/11 truth out there and to bring it. I don't care how far away from 9/11 we get. It's our best chance to bring down Satan and his Illuminati, and I'm not going to waste it. And you know, see, that's, you know, the ironic thing about 9/11 is that, you know, is that what Satan and his Illuminati thought would be their greatest victory is actually going to be their ultimate defeat. And it's because of, you know, God and Jesus and all the people that are connected to them, that are just have been working out there to put the truth out there. Like, it absolutely did not start with me. Like, I wrote a rap disc about Osama bin Laden. Like, I mean, I was buying all the 9/11 magazines. I was all, you know, rah everything. Like, I was hook, line, and sinker bought into it, and I had to be woken up, and you know, and I had to be shown the truth. And once I was, there was no way I could ever go back to the mainstream story. I saw the facts, and I couldn't believe how I ever believed it the first story the first time. But the way I started was a documentary series on YouTube called 9/11 Coincidences. And some of the videos are short, some of them are a few minutes long, but it just goes through all these things that are a coincidence. I think not. And it was amazing documentary series that like shows you, just breaks down 9/11 and shows you why things are not the way that they said they were. And it was incredible. I'll never forget that, you know, that hour and a half or 2 hours or however long it took me to watch that, but I just couldn't stop watching video after video, and I was just absolutely blown away at what I was seeing. It was incredible. And it was sad though. I couldn't believe that this was actually something like that actually happened. Like that, it didn't happen the way that they say it did. And you know, it was a very, very sad and surreal time. But you know, I'm glad that there were people out there working to put this truth out there. And you know, I'll never stop. And you know, like this will become Satan and his Illuminati's ultimate defeat because of, you know, it's because of brave people that are willing to put the truth out there. People like me, people like you watching this video that are willing to watch this video and then do your own research and, you know, put this out there and, you know, accept the truth and believe in it and put it out there, because it's not easy, but, you know, that's the only way they're going to get brought down. So, I think that'll bring us to the end of the video. I think I've said everything I wanted to say, making sure, that's the last page. But I think I said everything I wanted to say, and, you know, I know it's a lot of heavy stuff. I said, I didn't want I didn't want it to come off like I was, not supporting police officers. I absolutely do, but I just, I need those things need to be talked about. They need to be addressed. I mean, this whole drug recognition expert stuff is just, it's just pathetic, but it's if we can bring it around the right way and bring things around so that people aren't on the road impaired, and we can make sure that like that studies are done on the on driving and cannabis, and people know that you shouldn't be, don't drive after when you've first been using it, and try not to drive, and try not to drive when you're high or close to when you've been high. But if you've been a regular user, it doesn't, like, my reflexes are way higher and better. There are at least 7 different wildlife that are alive right now because of my reflexes and my paying attention and being locked in when I've been baked and driving. And specifically a mother duck and her line of ducks. If I was sober, there's no way I would have been paying enough attention to see that. If I was drunk, no way in hell. But I was baked, and I was sitting there looking at tunes, and I'm driving, and just out of my eye, I kind of see a yellow move on the road, and I'm getting closer, and I realize, oh my God, that's ducks. Able to hit on the brakes, just swerve out of the way, and I made shoulder check to make sure I'm not going to swerve into anyone. But those ducks are alive because I was baked and I was paying attention. But it took me a long time to get there. But I'm not advocating for. I want alcohol impairment. I want 0%. I want all alcohol impaired drivers off the road. But cannabis does not deserve to be lumped in with that. And it's this. Just with this whole new renewed focus to try and terrorize cannabis users, and how black people are being terrorized in the U.S. with how cops are murdering them. It's just like it's not what police officers are. Things need to change. But it all goes back to 9/11. If we wake people up to 9/11, expose that, everything's going to change off of that. We'll bring down Satan's Illuminati. The negative evil influences, the negative evil energy will start to go from our world, and we'll be able to build the best version of this world and be the best version of ourselves. So that will do it for me today. Hopefully you're able to follow along, get all this information. It's all out there on the internet. You can do your own research if you want. Please bring it at me if you think you can prove me wrong. But I know you can't, so I'm ready for it. But like I say, the information's out there. Do your own research. I encourage it. We need to wake up to this. We need to bring them to justice. So I thank everyone for coming along for the ride today, and we'll see you soon down the road. Much love and God bless. Peace.